This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's race week. That's right. The NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series is back this weekend at the Bellagio of drag strips, talking about zMAX Dragway and the NGK NTK 4-wide Nationals. Headed up there to Charlotte, North Carolina, and super excited because it feels like a really long time since I've been there, and we're back, baby. We're back. It's going to be great. So if you're a fan of NHRA drag racing, if you're excited to get back going again, back-to-back race weekends, by the way, got Houston the following weekend. It's going to be mega. Share the show. We got the voice of NHRA, Alan Reinhart, going to be joining us just moments from now. Going to preview the race, talk about what we remember from 2019. And honestly, I think, can anyone derail the Capco 4-wide train? Steve Torrence has won 5 out of 6. And I think that's a very interesting story. Like, he's got something going on, but then again, he is a back-to-back-to-back champion, so it makes sense he would win big races. So your comments, your thoughts, get in on that after we speak with Alan. We'll have a couple of minutes of open conversation as we get ready to head to Charlotte, NASCAR country. And one of our big stars is running a little NASCAR colors this weekend too. Going to be great. Before I go any further, though, I want to shout out the people who support WFO Radio, our sponsors, our advertisers, the people who make it possible. I'm talking about my buddy Marvin Rodak. I'm seeing all kinds of tags on my Gram account, people getting the Rodaks. And, after years of me talking about it, people making their first order from Marvin Rodak and absolutely loving it. And to me, that is all I can do, is bring people on board to the ways of the gourmet coffee. 817-924-6821. That's Marvin Rodak. And Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, TotalSeal.com. Got a brand new episode of Hidden Horsepower going to drop on Thursday with Brad Lagman, who is a savant when it comes to honing and has got a really entertaining character about him as well. You're going to love him if you there's profanity. I'll tell you that, but you're going to love it, and you're going to learn a lot, especially about trying new things, learning new tools, and advancing yourself, because that's what he is all about. That's coming out on Thursday, and the whole exercise is to let you all know that Total Seal can help you find the hidden horsepower in your engine by reducing friction, most of which comes from your piston rings. And they got a great program over there. Go to TotalSeal.com to find out more information, hear the podcast, and give them a call if you're building an engine, regardless of what it is. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, the program that I always like to talk about, because to me it is the closest distance between 2 points, when the 2 points are, I'm a drag racing fan who has never had the experience of driving a dragster, and I want to drive a dragster. Like, Dragster Adventure at frankhawley.com is the easiest way, because you just show up, you and a couple of friends with the clothes on your back, you plan a half day, you make a half track and 2 full track passes, instruction by Frank. He can even set up a race amongst you and your friends, or you can participate in a race to get that feeling of competition. All of that at frankhawley.com. Or maybe you want your top alcohol funny car license. You want to do something even bigger. That is all possible. But for me and my listeners, I really think you guys should do the Dragster Adventure. Then you'll understand why all of these people go out there every single weekend and, chase Wallies and have a great time. It's because of the feeling, and you can get it for a nominal price. Bargain at twice the price. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, a career for life. Simple as that, really. If you want to be involved in this sport, in the fabric, Samtech has really made a name for themselves. Job placement programs. They're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. Yes, of course. Blockhead, CNC programs, motorsport, EFI, tuning. They do it all. CNC programming. You don't even have to like racing necessarily. Certainly many of their grads end up in the aerospace industry, all of that. But if you want to get involved with motorsports at the highest level and be trusted from the jump, Samtech grads are trusted from jump. And go to samtech.edu to find out more information. Great stuff. Really appreciate it and appreciate them. Also, Nitro Fish for our 10th anniversary t-shirt. You can get it at Nitro Fish Racing. And later on in the show, I'll tell you how to get other good stuff like these brand new WFO Radio. What are they? Dry Fit Polos. This is exactly what it is. Yeah, we're ever expanding. We're ever expanding into the gear, the realm of the gear, the drip. Everybody's getting the drip, baby. And now, to the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart. Did you know that drip is the word that the young kids are using for swag? Like what we would know as swag is no longer swag. It's drip. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. What does DRIP stand for?
I have no idea if it's an acronym or it's something the kids made up because our lingo is not cool enough for them, which is what I think. You know, when you're a kid, like,
it has to be an acronym. I mean, swag is an acronym.
Well, what's I see? I don't know what the swag, what stuff with what?
Swag actually is an acronym, could be going two ways. One is stuff we all get. Like you go and and everybody gets a swag bag. That's stuff we all get. And the other acronym for swag is stolen without a gun.
Okay. See, I didn't know either of those, Alan. You're expanding my horizons. I just, I just accepted it without questioning, as I do occasionally, things like that. But I was told recently that, the kids say drip, get some drip, which for people of our era, that's a very bad thing, but we won't go there.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure, that's got to be an acronym. I mean, I don't know what else it would be, but
we'll ask. I'll find the next young person to tell me about it.
Yeah, it's like, like having a problem with your cell phone or a computer. Just find an 11-year-old and they go, oh, here you go, and pick it right up for it.
I like your shirt, man. Look at that.
Yeah, it's on the top of the pile this morning, and I thought, you know what? Why not a little love for the European champion from a couple of years ago?
You know what's funny is that our WFO audience, and you know this, is very international. We've got listeners and viewers down in Australia, UK. We've got Patreons from the UK. Everyone. I feel like that the drag racing world has gotten a lot closer together with this internet thing, and we appreciate them and love what they're doing, and hopefully everybody can get back going again. And I think they are. I think they're waking up over there in UK real soon, or about to happen.
Yeah, they just had a meet in Australia this past weekend as well. So things are starting to happen again. That's a good sign.
Good deal. People checking in out there on the social. Walt saying, what's up? And Jay saying, good afternoon and good morning. Maddie, the famous Maddie. Speaking of Mickey Thompson Top Fuel Harleys, I guess it's not Mickey Thompson Top Fuel Harley anymore. It's just Top Fuel Harley. And they've got a race sponsor, Samson Exhaust, going to be on board with them, and Spevco. So basically, Ty Tharp is donating his sponsors to this race. Great job.
Yeah, are they going to run 4 wide? That's the one thing I haven't heard. I hope so.
Yeah,
but I don't know for sure if that's going to happen or not. But that'd be cool. Top Fuel Harley's 4 wide.
I agree. We got to do it, man. We got to do it. And the whole 4 wide thing that we missed out on, that I missed out on last year, we had a lot of stuff that was going to go 4 wide. I think that the whole plan was to go as 4 wide as we possibly could. And that's coming to fruition here this weekend again with some additional categories.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. The alcohol drags for the funny car are going to go 4 wide, and we've got pretty close to full fields in both of those, so that should be fun. Actually, I think we're full in dragster, and we've got 15 funny cars or something like that. But speaking of not alcohol funny cars, nitro funny cars, did you see Corey Lee is entered in a nitro funny car?
I did not.
Yes.
That's awesome. Which one? Yeah. One of Dell's?
It's a secret.
Oh,
it's not one of Dell's.
Okay. All right. A fan favorite.
It's a team that's from Brian's neck of the woods.
Oh, okay.
They've got a big background in New England.
Oh, okay. But without revealing what kind of, team it might be, but where they're from. I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting don. I already got it.
I understand Corey's going to drive it. And I also understand that Johnny West is going to be involved in it. So, they're making a move, trying to step up performance a little bit. I mean, obviously, you go to Charlotte because the next race is in Epic, and you don't want to go to your home race and stub your toe, so they're going to Charlotte just to kind of do some takedown runs and get ready to rock. I
agree with that. I think everyone, I don't want to be judgmental, but like once upon a time, the way we always did it was good, and we would, the tour would come to town, and we would drag the car out and shake it down a little bit and get some help from some of the bigger teams when they were there, and most of the time do commiserate with that, right? Like whatever you do. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to just show up anymore and have that experience. You want to do well. And so I appreciate additional investment in travel to try to sort things out. Let's go fast instead of just being there.
Well, part of it too is with fewer qualifying runs. If you were going someplace, you knew you had 4 runs, and you could go in and go, okay, look, Friday we're going to make a half squirt, we're going to do this, we're going to And, we've still got a decent shot to come out and qualify and do something on Saturday. But I think now everybody has realized that you need to be prepared when you get there. And if that means, either going out, renting a track the week before, or going to another event someplace to be sure that you're ready, then that's something you need to do.
All right. So the audience, this is the thing about having a live audience. They do not let something like I got yelled at big time earlier today because on the Ignition podcast, I referenced Fonzie jumping the shark and I had some details wrong. Like I forgot he was on water skis when he jumped the shark. Like I muffed on that. And so Steve Brenwald of Brenwald Media was like, dude, you messed up on the reference to the jumping of the shark. It was on water skis. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh my
and he
God.
was wearing his leather jacket and a ski belt, not even a vest, but a ski belt.
Right.
Because you used to be able to wear ski belts and that was considered okay. But now,
thus the term jumping the shark when things just go over the edge. But everybody out there, Monica saying, one of our great Patreons, drip appears to be a metaphor, like you're dripping with money, desire, clothes, confidence. And Scott says drip is an adjective to describe your outfit similar to swag, sauce, steez, and swank. So there you go, Alan, the Urban Dictionary coming in for Scott and Monica. Thank you so much.
all right.
Yeah.
If any of them knows how to fix the drip on my new motorcycle, I'd be happy with that because it's kind of starting to annoy me.
Speaking of drips, I also have a similar problem with my race car, of course. And, I've been teasing everybody for the past however many years. I've got this rear main seal leak, but I got to change the torque converter and this and that. I got motivated, Alan. Last week, I just said, the heck with this. And I went over there and because, now I'm vaccinated. My dad's vaccinated. Everybody's vaccinated. I don't have to have even in the back of my mind that I'll be bringing some sort of something to my father. Because, he's the kind of guy that can't stay away when there's work to be done. The type. Like you gotta jump in no matter what. Like if you were there lifting something, he's going to come help you lift, do something, open a door, something. That's my father. And so all projects on the car have been stalled. Tore the thing apart, pulled the transmission down, replaced the torque converter, got it back up in place, couple more buttoning up to do, and the race car will be ready. The only thing is I got that drip, gotta fix the leak a little bit, just enough so we can test.
Yeah, well, you said you had a rear main seal leak. Did you fix that?
Well, I cleaned it and got everything spick and span, and I'm going to try to, stymie the leak with the new oil by Driven.
Ah.
Yeah.
In other words, no.
Well, no. I'd have to pull the engine. I can't get to the rear main seal with the engine in the car. That's the problem.
You can't get the pan out with the engine in the car?
No. Stock cross member, not enough space to pull it down and get the pan off. And then,
well, now, once the trans is out, how difficult is it to pull the engine out?
Well, that's the thing.
It's off, you disconnect the motor mounts and it's out.
And it would be out, yes. And that's the next project. But I'm going to be proving to myself whether this torque converter deal was in fact the reason we lost all that performance. The point is that, I just can't get beyond that. That will bring me back to square zero, and then we can move forward. But yes, oh man, I'm ready to pull the engine. I'm ready to get some new total seal piston rings. I'm ready for all of that. The project, we're ramping up again, man. Fire up the band.
Right on.
Yeah, look at Mark.
I hope it all goes well for you the next time you get it out. I looked at mine this week, so I don't know if that counts or not. But.
Well, excellent. Now it does. It counts. It counts. Look at this guy, the New Englander. Exactly. And Jim Essex strip jokes. Way to go, Jim. Way to tell the world what we were doing there. I enjoy watching the 4-wide this weekend, but I really look forward to Houston following weekend because I'll be there. Isn't that great? And the big news about Saturday at the 4-wide is it's sold out from what I understand.
Yeah, I mean, the 4-wide, especially in that part of the world, has always generated a lot of attention. The Las Vegas 4-wide doesn't have quite as much history, but it still has a pretty solid fan following. But in that part of the world, you go into NASCAR country and you got to do something to get their attention. And I think that was part of the process in the first place. The spring race there historically did not do well from a fan draw standpoint, but the 4-wide always has. And so, you and I have talked about it for however many years now. If that is what it's going to take to get a new fan to come to the track, then let's do it. And once the new fan comes to the track and sees the experience, right? You can walk down in the pits, you can go right to the haulers, you can meet the drivers, you can do all this access that you don't have in NASCAR. then I think that some of them are going to come back. They won't all come back, obviously, but some will. And anything that gets somebody to actually come out and experience an event, I'm for it. Sold out Saturday is a beautiful thing. And, hopefully the fans now will go, oh, geez, I missed out on that. But let's buy tickets for Sunday, or let's buy tickets for Friday, and let's make sure that we don't miss it. So.
Well, exactly. And that's a big facility. So I don't know what the capacity is. I don't know about any of those numbers, but any kind of what is available being sold out is a good story for all of us. And we're getting there. It's just that, baby steps and people and the vaccinations and all of that, we're getting to where we need to be. And speaking of NASCAR country, I'm sure you saw this. A very familiar to NASCAR country paint scheme on Greg Anderson's car this weekend, the Ricky HendrickCars.com scheme. And boy, does that look good on a Pro Stocker.
Well, Rick Hendrick has a long history with Pro Stocking with NHRA. I mean, I don't know how many people know, but literally when Rick Hendrick first started racing in NASCAR, when he was the new kid on the block in NASCAR, his engines came from Reinhart Morrison. And he had a relationship with Reinhart Morrison. They had the same sponsorship on the Pro Stock car at the time that they did on Rick Hendrick's lone NASCAR entry at the time. And he's always kept an eye on, he's the guy that bought the Snake and Mongoose haulers, the ramp trucks and the funny cars and that kind of stuff. But he has always enjoyed drag racing, has always kept an eye on drag racing. And Rick is a businessman. If he didn't think there was going to be a return on investment here, he ain't doing this because, he likes drag or because, no. Rick is a businessman. He's doing this because he believes there's going to be a return on investment. And when you look at what Greg's done this year and how well he's been running, I like his chances of getting solid Sunday. And, the more you're on TV, obviously, the more return investment you get when you make a sponsorship deal like that.
Absolutely. Well, and the cross-pollination, and for Rick Hendrick, who has so many of those dealerships right across the street, I can imagine that that's going to be great for him, for employees, just to be in and around. And of course, I like the fact that he's on board with one of the factory hot rods. And you mentioned Reinhart Morrison. That was the first time I ever saw Hendrick was on Lee Shepard's car way back in the day. And my dad telling me about that relationship. And then, who knew he would go on to such great things on the NASCAR side of the world, Days of Thunder, simple as that.
Yeah. And he's, but again, he's always kept an eye on drag racing, even if he wasn't heavily involved. He always, kind of followed along. He always knew what we were doing. I can tell you, because I have seen it personally a number of times when he's at zMAX with one of his cars or with something from the dealership. And they're over there just having some fun or testing it out, or, just how fast is this ZL1 really? And that he personally would be all right. I literally, one day I was sitting in the tower, whatever it was, Monday after a race, and I was waiting for a flight. I'm sitting in the tower, and this Corvette comes screaming by it down the drag strip. I'm like, what was that all about? Don't worry about it. And like a couple of laps, like almost roll racing. And, from zMAX, you come around the corner, you can get a little bit of a run at it. And, the guy finally comes back, parks the car down in front of the tower, and he got out. And I went, "Is that Rick Hendrick?" Yep. And he said, and he gets new cars or gets stuff. He said, he'll come over here. He says, he calls Bruton and says, "Anything going on at the drag strip?" "Nope. Unlock your gate." "Okay." And, they have a safety team, obviously, on site. You wouldn't do something like that without. But
sure.
He has always had at least a peripheral involvement and kept an eye on drag racing. So it's good to see him putting his money up. And it's good for Greg, obviously. Hopefully this is more than, just a one race thing. I mean, because Hendrick Cars, while most of their dealerships are down in that part of the world, television's got a pretty extensive reach. So, Greg's running well. Greg's spending a lot of time on TV, and hopefully that'll expand. I don't know any of the details of the deal. Maybe it's already a 3 race or 10 race or 42 race deal. I don't know. But I hope I certainly hope there's more than one.
Well, exactly. And that's, that's one of the reasons why we got to talk about it, because we want them to continue to see that we have a bunch of great racers, guy like Greg Anderson chasing history. Like, who's going to be on the car when Greg ties Warren Johnson, surpasses Warren Johnson, scores 100 victories, and be the car that's known forever. These are great times, and we're having kind of a nice little coming back together with NASCAR. Also, as you mentioned, years ago, there was cross-pollination going one way or another. Kenny Bernstein, of course, involved Raymond Beadle owning Rusty Wallace's championship car, the Kodiak car back in the day. Now we got Tony Stewart hanging out on our starting line. You got Rick Hendrick sponsoring Greg Anderson. I like when that happens. I'm not saying it has to happen, but when it does, it's a good thing.
Well, and I can tell you, keep an eye on your social media because there are going to be some big name NASCAR stars that come out and spend a little time at zMAX this weekend. Now, obviously, they're racing up in Dover, so it's not like they're all going to be there Sunday for the event. But from my understanding is that some of the big names in NASCAR are going to at least do a drop in here and there and stop by. And I'm sure that it'll be blasted around on social media. I don't know if you remember when we were there 2 years ago, it rained out in Talladega and Kyle Larson came up to spend the day hanging out with, he and J.R. Todd are buds, and he came up and spent the day hanging out with us and then flew back down to Talladega to compete in his race. But there are a lot of those guys that really enjoy what NHRA does and just the sheer power of the cars. Anybody that is into fast cars and powerful cars has to at least have some fondness for NHRA, and a lot of those NASCAR drivers do.
We had Dale Jr. out there on the starting line a couple of years back. He was out there and just blown away, loving it. And what I would really like to do, and I don't know why, just because Snake is such a great relationship with Chip and all, always hoping that we could pull a Chip Ganassi into drag racing. He's got so much shop space and so many great connections with sponsors, and that would be a big story. And we're working it. It's not over yet.
If you want to go back in time, Dale Earnhardt Sr. warmed up Al Hoffman's funny car one time and got out of the thing with pretty big eyes, even for a guy that's done everything that Dale Sr. had done, and promptly asked Al if he could borrow the engine for qualifying. He said, I don't think it'd make it 500 miles, but he said, if I could borrow that for qualifying, that'd really be something. And, he was certainly not a super fan by any means, but understood what we did and was impressed and in awe of the Nitro cars even back then. So, yeah, and one of the great things about being in Charlotte, when I guess it was the last time we were there in the fall, and that was, again, the weekend that Talladega had rained out. So we raced on Monday, they raced on Monday, and the track actually extended the invitation to the NASCAR teams that anybody with a NASCAR hard card would be admitted for free. It was Monday, right? It wasn't going to be a packed house. Obviously, a lot of people have to go back to work, and it wasn't going to be the full normal production. We're just finishing up the race that got rained on Sunday. Right. But to reach to the NASCAR community, hey guys, if you're here, if you're in town, and if you can get away, come on out and give us a taste. And there were a number of the guys that took them up on that. So, I love cross promotions when we can do stuff like that, and I would love to see something like that going the other way as well. Maybe sometime when NASCAR's in Indy, to reach out to the NHRA team to go, hey guys, you want to come to qualifying day, you want to come something, bring your NHRA hard card and just come out and give us a taste. And there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, how many people now are looking at drag racing because Tony Stewart is hanging out here?
Yes.
Tony Stewart fans or NASCAR fans are going, what's he doing? Okay, let's look at this. That's a good thing. And it works both ways. If our stars go, when Courtney Force goes to the Indy 500, how many drag race fans are going, okay, let's take a look at this. Now, obviously, everybody knows what the Indy 500 is, but still, anything that gets people to pay attention to your event is a beautiful thing. And, we need to do more of it. It really doesn't cost anything. It's a goodwill gesture between sanctioning bodies, and if it gets the fans to take a look at the other sport, I don't see any downside. I don't think any NHRA fan is going to go to a NASCAR race and go, okay, well, I'm never going to NHRA again. And I don't really think any NASCAR fan is going to come to one of our events and go, that's it, I'm swearing off NASCAR. But I do think if you come to one of our events, you'll enjoy it. And then maybe the next time we're in town or we're in the neighborhood, you'll go, you know what, that NHRA thing's pretty cool. I'll go check it out. You just got to come out and give us a shot. And that's all we've asked for years. Come visit in person. And if you don't like it, if it's not for you, okay, it's not going to be for everybody. But come see it in person and then decide whether or not you want to come back.
Well, and that's the thing. And as great as they do on the television program, Brian and Tony and Bruno and Amanda and Jamie, everybody that's over there, it's just the kind of thing that you have to see it in person to really get what's happening on the other side of the screen. And then once you do it, your whole perspective of everything that you see on the screen is different. And this year, based on, what's allowed locally, I've been very obvious about cheerleading to get people out this year. Okay, oh man, I went back in 2005 and I know what drag racing is all about. You say that all the time because we hear it all the time. Oh yeah, man, I went in 1998. Yeah, it was really great. But no, listen, you went the last century. Okay, we're in a new century. Things are different. Come out now. You claim to be a fan. Now is the time to come out. The drivers want to see you. The fans want to see you. The track wants to see you. Whatever is allowable, of course. And that will be growing. That number is growing all the time. Roger Richards was like, is it a real sellout or is it a COVID sellout? It's like, it's a sellout based on the rules in the region. So that's all we can do.
It doesn't matter. We've sold every ticket we're allowed to sell.
Max capacity. And that number is going up and up and up. And that's it. So come out now. And if you're in the Charlotte area, I would recommend this weekend, Friday or Sunday, but you can't on Saturday unless you already have your ticket. All right. We got a couple of questions. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the things, especially with the Sunday show, if you haven't been to an NHRA event in 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, it's so much more condensed now. And that's because the fans basically said, look, we don't want to be at the racetrack for 12 hours on Sunday. We don't want to. You go to a baseball game, you know what it's going to be. You go to a football game, you go to a NASCAR race, you've got some kind of a time frame. But at zMAX this week, round one is at noon. Okay, so if you want to get up, if you want to go to, your Sunday worship service, you want to have Sunday brunch, you want to do whatever, you can do that. And as long as you're in your seat by noon, you're not going to miss any of the action on the racetrack as far as, the nitro car. It's going to be over by about 4:30. So you can still go home. You can have a Sunday dinner. You can, the show on Sunday has been condensed because the fans basically said the day's too long. We don't want to have to be there at 9 a.m. and still be there at 6:30 or 7 o'clock that night to watch the finals. And so the show has been condensed. So you can come in, you can watch a race, you can still be home. It's in time for Sunday dinner. Some of the old school hardcore fans don't like it. And I love, my buddy Dave Moody on Sirius XM to tell you, there are two things that a race fan hates. Two things they hate. They hate change and they hate the way things are right now.
Yes.
Those two things they hate. And, but the vast majority of fans that were coming on Sunday, even when you started, Joe, you've been out here long enough. How many times did you see, second round, right? Man, this place is rocking. It's pretty full. And then they run the finals in like at 50% capacity. Right. Because everybody's just like, oh, geez, it's 5 o'clock. I got to go. I got to work tomorrow. I got a long drive home. I got whatever. So they didn't stay for the final. And the fans told us loud and clear, the day's too long. And so NHRA has condensed that portion of the show. Now, you don't have as much sportsman activity on Sunday, but that makes Saturday even more important when the sportsmen are fighting to make it there. But if you come out and watch the race, like I said, at zMAX, if you're there at noon, you're going to see the first nitro cars go down the racetrack, and we should be done by 4:30. I mean, providing there's no weather, no issues, you never know what's going to happen during the course of a race day. So you can have your Sunday brunch. You can spend a day at the NHRA races. You can watch all the cars go down the racetrack in the Camping World Series and motorcycles, and you can still be home in time for Sunday dinner. And tickets are still available. Give it a shot, and especially if you haven't done it in a while. And it's going to be 4 wide. And watching the 4 of them, interesting that I had a conversation with a guy that is a pretty hardcore 2 wide drag racing fan, right? One of the guys that just not enthralled with 4 wide stuff. And he went to a race at Charlotte, I believe, 2 years ago when we ran 4 wide there last, and sat down towards the finish line, down 600-800 feet. And he said, when the 4 cars come by flames up down there, it is like an unbelievable experience, even more so than on the starting line, because you're watching them coming, you're feeling them go by. You can see the race better if you're down there. You have a wider field of vision, which, with 4 wide, there's a lot going on. There's no question about it. And he said he's still not saying, oh, gee, I think every race in the world should be 4 wide, but that kind of changed his perspective and turned him into this is something that a hardcore fan should at least go give it a shot. And if you don't like it, you don't like it, but at least give it a shot. And, the beauty of our events is you can go stand down by the fence at the finish line. You can, move around a little bit. You've got a reserve seat if you want to go back to it, but you're not locked to it. You're allowed to roam the facility a little bit, see it from all different angles. So anyway, I want to sell out Sunday too. That's my goal.
Well, listen, no, I agree. This is the time for cheerleading. In the years past, maybe it was uncool to openly say, hey, Uncle Sam style, like, I want you to come to the track. But now it's not. Now is the time that everybody back on the clock. Let's go. Let's get after it. And this 4 wide thing, I agree. I went and saw the first one. When was that, Alan? Not the first inaugural race, but they had a demonstration. There was a 2 wide exhibition. When was that? Yeah, the exhibition. When was that? Because I was there. I made sure to go to see that because I wanted to be there for the first 4 wide passes. When was that? 2008?
08, maybe? 09, somewhere in there.
It was a spectacle. We hadn't seen it for ever. I know Miami Hollywood used to run some things 4 wide, like jet cars and whatever, but it wasn't a regular deal. It wasn't a purpose-built facility. And to think of Bruton Smith, people forget what he did to get this drag strip built. Remember that the city didn't want it, and they're like, oh, we don't want drag racing. And he's like, I will bulldoze Charlotte Motor Speedway and move to another part of North Carolina if you don't make this happen. And they're like, all right, we're going to make it happen. And they made it happen. And look at all the things that have built up around it because of the tracks and all that stuff there. So when someone moves heaven and earth to build a drag strip, they got to be rewarded. And they're being rewarded. It's a Saturday sellout. It wouldn't be if it was too wide. I don't think.
I don't think so either. Although, somebody want to get
up. Your earbuds just went out. We can't hear you. I know. It's all right. It's all right. We're gonna just bounce you on out, and you will reconnect or do whatever you got to do. There he goes, folks. Alan Reinhart. It wouldn't be the same. I want to say what's up to Maddie out there. Also, got some questions. We'll get to questions. Blake is out there. What's up, Blake? Want to remind everybody, you can go to WFOradio.com and subscribe to the podcast, the audio only portion of the show. That's how you hear Ignition, which is entertainment. And we've got our Patreons on there, and we got a bunch of people on there. It's fun. We're talking NASCAR results, talking Formula One, talking NHRA drag racing, a lot of gripes, a lot of fun stuff going on that show. This show is a little more buttons down, just a little. All right, guess who's back again?
If I ever meet the guy who invented the do not disturb for Android phones, I'm going to kick him right in the shin, or her.
Yes, exactly. All right, we got a couple questions out there. Do you remember in Atlanta, I met a young guy and his dad at the very end of the race, and you jumped on the radio, and Blake was his name. Yep. Blake is now a viewer of WFO, and he has a question about what's the difference between a title sponsor and a presenting sponsor. Kind of like marketing talk, but this is something that gets kicked around all the time. Blake's got the question. I'm sure he's not the only one.
Basically, it's a level of commitment. A title sponsor means your name is on the event. If it's the WFO Racing Nationals at Atlanta, you're the title sponsor. You paid to have the event named after you. Now, a presenting sponsor is less of a financial commitment, and then you would have the NHRA Nationals in Atlanta presented by WFO Radio. And again, it's a financial level of commitment. But when you get involved far enough out, which is what most of the sponsors want to do, so that all the advertising says it's the WFO National. All of the tickets say it's the WFO National. All of the T-shirts say it's the WFO National. That's a little bit bigger of a financial commitment, but then you have bought the right to put your name on the event, whereas a presenting sponsor is supporting the event that already has a name.
Got it.
And by the way, Blake, I'm sorry, we screwed up this morning. We were trying to connect, and I got involved with some stuff 100% on me, so hopefully we'll be able to do that this afternoon. But we were trying to connect this morning, and I screwed that up.
That's awesome. Well, he is a super fan, obviously.
Yes, he is.
Loves the sport. Yeah, and you like it to be able to have young people like that out there at the track enjoying, having a good time. It is pretty amazing. And title sponsor versus presenting sponsor. The way I look at it, we just need more sponsors to get involved one way or another. Let's see. It's like Freebird for Skinner. Show is not complete until Alan has an Android problem with the do not disturb moment.
Well, last week it was fine. And when we were done, I had like 2 messages so somebody had tried to reach out to me, and why it works sometimes and doesn't work sometimes is something that I would just love for somebody to explain to me.
Exactly. Kev says, how about the WFO Nationals, right? Like I aspire to get to that level where WFO Radio can be the sponsor.
All Joe needs to do is sell a few more T-shirts. So yes. You get on board right now.
Yeah. Exactly. Nitro Fish Racing, the 10th anniversary T-shirt, or go to the WFO Radio store and just buy everything that we're selling up there. And we'll have taken our first step to a long-term goal. Simple as that. Blake says, thank you for answering my question. Jim says at Miami Hollywood, the 4 wide was on the Georgia track. Yeah, no, it was the other 2 lanes were a little sketchy. It wasn't good for competition, but for putting on a show, that was plenty good enough. All right, I'm looking at the entry list. You got me excited about the entry list, and I'm looking at full fields and top fuel, certainly, which the race within a race that is qualifying, that's a big part of it. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think that I think it's going to be a good show. You look at Pro Stock and Pro Stock Motorcycle. You talk about some people going to get sent home. By the way, I don't know, you will notice if you keep scrolling, the Salinas sisters are both entered. So, Gianna's been struggling a little bit with the motorcycle, hasn't, just really hasn't hit her stride yet after taking most of the year off last year. But for Jasmine, her first race back after that crazy ride down in Florida, and she should be in her brand new Crampton mobile.
Yes, we got a ton of bikes. We got a ton of bikes. We got a ton of cars. That's great. Well, it makes a perfect sense that, some of the people who skip some races, Alan, I was looking at Pro Stock because of the Greg Anderson thing. And I was just trying to figure out who doesn't have a chance to win, right? Kid Chaos has got a shot to win. He had a birthday the other day, and Derek Kramer's got a shot to win. And like you said, Chris and Mason McGay, hey, it's great to see Aaron Strong back at it, trying again. We know that car just went to the final round with Vincent. That is what's good and healthy about the sport right now. I know Troy Coughlin is he's going to break through. It's not going to be a long time before Troy Coughlin figures it out and breaks through for a Pro Stock win. So it's just very compelling, the competition right now.
Yeah, but I will also tell you from what we've seen the first few races, and I love watching trends. Just what's going on out there right now, and what's going on out there right now is that Greg Anderson has the best car, and Erica has the second best car. I don't think there's any question about that. If you go back and look at, low ET per round, low ET, qualifying sessions, and I really believe that, I believe it would almost be a prop bet if you had Greg and Erica against the field, because those two seem to have separated themselves from the rest of the field a little bit, and Greg seems to be a tick in front of Erica right now. But I think that, I'm not saying that I would be stunned if somebody other than those two win, but let's just say I certainly won't be surprised if it's one of those two again. Erica coming out of the 13th spot to win the 4 wide last time when we were out in Vegas, and that's something that hadn't happened in over 10 years. So I think those two right now are the ones to beat, and everybody else seems to be chasing them. Even though power obviously is level across the board, but those two seem to have something going on right now.
Absolutely. Kev says Kev's from the UK, so of course he loves he called it a top. What do we think about that? It's a t-shirt. Kev, in the good old US of A, that thing that Alan's got on is a t-shirt. Well, only the ladies call it a top. It's a top for the ladies. Men do not call the thing that they wear over their chest a top. It's just not the way it goes. Just a little cultural thing there. Right, Alan? I mean, you don't call it a top, do you?
No, but you know what? If he's watching the show, he can call it whatever he wants.
Kev's a Patreon. I can bust chops a little bit like that.
Okay. All right.
He drives truck. He goes through the big tunnel. He goes through the tunnel. He goes on a ferry. It's pretty crazy. He was on the Ignition show the other day while he was loading onto the ferry to go across the English Channel, which was amazing, right? He's doing his job. He's on a ferry. He's in the English Channel. He's driving a truck. He's watching WFO. Just insane. The technology.
Well, I hope that he's watching while he's riding on the ferry, not while he's driving the truck, because that would probably not be a good thing. That would get you in trouble around my place.
Absolutely. No, he was just on the ferry in park. I think he might have been sitting in the cab, but just waiting to get over the English channel. Let's see. Nico, I'm a huge WFO fan. I have good memory from my childhood. I had the great pleasure of being Johnny Moto's neighbor in Phoenix and got to spend some time in the tower with that great duo. Thank you, Nico. How about that?
Johnny Moto. Yeah, what a personality. And I doing well last I heard.
Multiple personality.
Yeah, multiple personality. You might be right about that. But I kind of miss seeing Johnny on the road. But he's been laying low and kind of hanging around the Phoenix homestead as of late. But definitely a good guy, and a guy that I spent a lot of time announcing with, because for a number of years back at what was then Firebird Raceway, he and I were the announce staff. So it was, every race, it was either him or me or both of us. And we spent a lot of time working together.
Love Johnny, the voices, the personalities. The guy was at Woodstock. Come on. What else? We're bouncing around a little bit, but that is the nature of WFO. Let's talk about Steve Torrance. We got 18 top fuelers. Spoke with Antron last week. If you guys didn't hear Antron, he was really great. That's in the archive. We also spoke with Greg and Scotty Polachek and our winners. We got Bob Tasca tomorrow, by the way, everybody. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Alan, you're going to still be in your jammies. 10 a.m. I know you're not going to be in your jammies, but 10 a.m. is a very early time for WFO. But that's when we're doing. When Bob could do it, we're doing 10 a.m. So we're going to experiment with a new time. Everybody be ready. 10 a.m. tomorrow, and if you miss it, you can watch it live. But Antron Brown was feeling it. He was feeling like they got something sorted, and they'd been working on several things. He went back even to 4 wide in Vegas, and that there was something wrong with the car that they didn't know, and the car made more power than they expected, etc. So I'm going to be very eager to watch the whole Steve Torrence, Antron Brown, immovable object, unstoppable force thing, with Steve winning 3 in a row at zMAX, 5 of the last 6 4 wide. He's grooving, but Antron Brown is emerging, a 3-time champ. That I got my eyes on that.
Yeah, they've definitely got a good car, and they're starting to get some of their mojo back. Once they got the band back together, they just, weren't necessarily all in sync when they played their first set, but they are definitely getting back in the groove now, and I think it's going to be fun to watch all year. Interesting you said about, there was something wrong with the car, that it made more power than they expected. And I'm not sure how many casual fans realize that the key with a nitro engine is not to make more power or less power. If the weather gets good, it's not like, ooh, we got more horsepower, or if the weather gets bad, it's like, oh, we don't have as much horsepower. The key thing that you want to do with a nitro engine is to make the same amount of power all the time. You would like to be able to make the same amount of power in Denver as you do in Reading or in Seattle. And the key to doing that, when you look at, why they change head gasket thicknesses, why they change blower overdrive, sometimes literally while they're waiting to fire the car up. It's not because they're trying to make more power, trying to make less power. They're trying to make the same power. If the engine has the same power level, then you can adjust the application via the clutch and via the timing and the fuel system. But you need the engine to make the same power every time. And if the engine's making more power than you expect, it throws everything else off. When you're dealing with a centrifugal clutch that comes in stages, if you hit the gas and you expect the engine to flash to 8,400 RPMs, and that's what your deal is set for, okay. If you hit the gas and the engine flashes to 8,600 RPMs, everything's out of sync. And it's because the engine made more power than you expected it to. So that can hurt you just as bad, literally just as bad as dropping a cylinder, maybe sometimes worse, because if it drops a cylinder, if you're down on power, chances are you're going to go down the racetrack if it doesn't blow up. But if you've got more power than you expect, you got a real good chance of spending. And
guess what happened, Alan? Again, do not disturb. Do not disturb. I got to pull that. Like every time Alan rolls his eyes, I gotta pull that out. It's going to be great. There he goes, Alan Reinhart. And this is where, it wouldn't be the show. Let's see. I know the announcer screen for 4 wide is pretty busy. What other resources do you guys use when announcing? Do you have a database, written notes? What do you guys use to keep on track with drivers and stats? That's a good question for Alan. I can't wait to hear what he says. You can listen to you two and still drive. Great show, Alan and Joe Castello. Thank you, Kurt. Really appreciate you. Jerron, what are you attacking this guy for? Hey, Alan, is your voice going to make it through late September, October, and November with 82 weeks in a row of racing in D7? I think he'll be just fine. Thing about Alan and Brian is they can just talk forever and ever and ever. It's pretty amazing. I can't do that. Not forever and ever and ever. But here he is. He is now back. Oh, he's leaving. Where's he going? There he goes.
Hey, how you doing?
No, listen, he's got a guest. He's got a guest over there. We don't want that guy to be on the deal. Let's see. Love to see Bob in the electric Mustang and Greg in his Pro Stock car have a match race. The electric Mustang would lose, but we'll talk to Bob about it tomorrow. I want to ask him a little bit about the Joey Logano video, because it sounded like Joey really wanted to drive the Cobra Jet, and he was in the Mach-E, and I don't know if you saw it, but it was pretty cool. It was a neat thing. I know some people aren't into the whole electric thing, but that doesn't matter anymore, because there are people that are. And it's as simple as that. Like most people like 2 wide over 4 wide, but the 4 wide people are enough to have 2 races. Most people like gas and like to make power with pistons and combustion. I agree. But there's enough electric people out there now to have it be worthwhile for them to have a class and a place to race and a reason to come out. And who knows? Maybe they have both, one of each as drag racing. Oh, there he's back. He's back. I saw you go and answer your door, so I was buying you some time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I actually have an appointment with a contractor that's looking at something I want to do here at the shop. And he was supposed to be here a little bit later, but he got free and came by early. And I pointed at my sign on the door that said live broadcast, and he went, I'm like, well, it's kind of late now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
I got to see somebody about something. The guy with the thing, the other thing the other day. Hey, we had a couple questions about announcing, and Keith wants to know, and this is good for you to answer, but the announcer screen is very busy for 4Wide. What other resources do you guys use when announcing? Do you have a database, written notes? What do you guys do to keep track of drivers and stats? Asks Keith from Fools of Oz. It's all up there, Keith. All of it is in the melon, the dome. Nobody believes that.
Well, I mean, there is a very comprehensive database that was put together by Bob Fry, and he literally spent 15 years building it, going back into the history and looking up stuff. In the early days, somehow baseball knew that stats were going to be important, and they have always kept them. I don't know any other sport that did. When Bob started getting very heavily into the NHRA announcing stuff, he started looking into the stats. And so he has a database. He owns it. He is very protective of it. I'm very grateful that I have access to it. And I literally get an update every single week. So I have in my database head-to-head stats from every active driver out there, both the Camping World Series, the Alcohol Series, the Pro Mods. I have every single race winner and runner-up dating all the way back to the 1955 when they ran the first Nationals. And that's a resource that, you can use. Sometimes you look up something and it's a compelling stat, right? It's like, okay, well, Joe and Alan have raced, 25 times and Joe's won 12 and Alan's won 13. Is that compelling? Not to me. But if Joe and Alan have raced 25 times, Joe's won 12, Alan's won 13, but Joe's won 6 straight. That now is a compelling stat. So from my standpoint, one, when is it interesting? And then, when do you use it? And that's kind of an interesting thing, that discussion that goes back to Bob and Lewis Bloom and myself about when you use a stat. If you look up the fact that, okay, if Joe Castello makes it to the final, this is going to be his 100th career final. That's awesome. If he makes it to the final.
Right.
If you say in the second round, Joe's trying to make his 100th career final, you've stolen your thunder. If he doesn't make it, then everybody's like, well, who cares? It's like saying somebody's trying to win the Super Bowl. Every team in the NFL is trying to win the Super Bowl. That's not a stat. So you look at, and we don't all agree on stuff. You and I have had the discussions where you think, hey, this is interesting, and I go, yeah. And there's times when I think this is really cool, and you go, yeah. But I also think that there's times when, what's happening right now is more important than what happened 6 months or 5 years ago. And so that's, I think the more recent history is more important than the long-term history, unless there's a long-term pattern. You remember you talked about Antron Brown and Steve Torrance. There was a point in time where Antron had beaten Steve like 14 out of 15 times when they raced. Now that's compelling. If Steve ever finally beats the guy, that's a moment. Well, then, obviously Steve started turning around, and Steve went on a run where he won whatever it was, 6 or 7 in a row when they were running head to head. That kind of stuff I think is interesting. If I look up a stat where, John Force and Cruz Pedregon have raced each other, whatever it is now, 128 times head to head on Sunday, which is, there's guys out there haven't run 128 races, and these guys have raced each other head to head on Sunday. I think that's interesting because that's the longest running, the most head to head of anybody in funny car out there. And they've been doing it for so long. But I also think it's interesting when you look up, Ron Capps is racing Robert Hyde. Okay, they've raced a lot. But there's times when we'd be in, maybe Topeka and realize these guys haven't raced this year. Because one thing about NHRA, you don't necessarily race everybody head to head every week. And I think that's compelling. If I take a look at stats when we get to Houston, 4Wide puts a little bit different spin on it because it's just a different format. But when we get to Houston, if I look down and go, okay, well, Joe and Alan are, geez, the last time they raced was, could have been literally 2019. Then I think that's interesting that these guys haven't gone head to head. So that's just, there's a lot of information that you have at hand. But if all you're going to do is spend your whole time talking about the stats, you're missing the essence of what's happening on the racetrack. The biggest thing is to, realize when it's a special moment and try to make it special and try to tell the fans why it's special. I love stuff like when Dylan Stott won Top Sportsman. Dylan been to 5 final rounds, had never won one. That's a big moment.
Yes.
And so that's the stat that, finally he broke through. and they're going to go back, they're going to watch it on YouTube, they're going to be, and you can make it more special if you know the facts and figures and if you share them in the proper way. And that's what I do.
Creating a moment. No, I agree. And stats are important. They're definitely a part of it. They can build the foundation, but the emotion of the moment is really big. And, that Tony Jones interview that we all saw a couple of weeks ago, people are still seeing that for the first time and texting about it. Like that's the effort that a lot of these Lucas Oil Series racers are putting in every week. You just don't get a camera shot of them or an interview with them until they win. And then sometimes it all comes pouring out. And to me, that's what hooks people in. I love the stats, especially head-to-head stats, recent head-to-head stats. That to me, like you said, if someone is owning someone, we need to know about it, because when the script gets flipped, that's important to know. Like, man, that guy beat me 5 in a row. That's the kind of thing that racers dwell on. It like keeps them up at night when someone is owning them, and you can't overemphasize it when it goes the other way. Like you said, Antron and Steve, and now they're both 3-time champs. So we'll see what happens. Then again, we got so many other great cars out there in the 4-wide. You don't have to win the round to advance. It's going to be pretty interesting. Monica says, Alan is the rock star of drag racing announcing. Always an awesome job. Look at that, Alan. Monica.
Well, Monica's always been very bright and very perceptive.
Exactly.
Seriously, thank you for the kind words. That's very kind. I appreciate it.
Got Krista Baldwin out there this weekend also. That's cool.
Yeah. It's always cool to see Chris out at the races.
The Greekette. So we got Top Fuel Harley, Top Sportsman, Super Gas, Super Comp, Stock, Super Stock Comp. Of course, the Lucas Oil Top Alcohol cars. Pro Modified back in action. 4-wide. This is the first place that we ever did it. And I remember taking part in your staging school on the starting line, and they all pulled it off very, very well. And I'm excited to see them go again as we continue to roll in the season.
Yeah, it should be fun. We're going to do a staging school again on Thursday night, because there are a lot of people that haven't done it before or haven't done it recently, especially some of the alcohol cars that are on the East Coast, if you weren't in Vegas. And just knowing the procedure is helpful. I think that, we didn't have a single problem with the alcohol cars when we were out in Vegas doing their 4-wide staging procedure. And I think it's helpful. So the note has gone out to all of the competitors that it's going to happen. If they want to come by and take part, then they're more than welcome to. Certainly not mandatory, but if you're in your car and you're pulling up for the first time going, okay, now let me see if I remember this, that's not the way you want to do it, especially with limited qualifying passes. So, when we go out there on Thursday night and walk through it and answer questions and make sure that everybody, so when they're in the car the first time, they go, okay, I got this. And somehow I became the 4-wide expert, so I end up doing those things. But
I like it. Well, you're a decent communicator, I would say. So we got a comment from Angie Smith, says that Jerry Savoy owned her for 12 years. Then I finally beat him last year. And that's what drag racing is all about. Like this person that I can't beat, and then you beat him and everything changes.
Yeah. And the racers it's funny to me that the racers remember the losses more than the wins.
Absolutely.
You've talked to guys like Warren Johnson, guys like Frank Manzo, guys that right, and you go, hey, tell me about, that big win at Indy that one year. Yeah. But I remember the time that, Bob Glidden hung me out, and they just remember those. And it's funny because if you ask Jerry, hey, did you own her? And he'd go, I don't know. But when you're the one that's getting whooped, that's the thing.
We have to make this stop. Like, how do we make this stop? Like, you're going up, and it's psychological. The one-on-one, or in this case now 1-on-3 competition. And that's one of the things that 4-wide changes up a little bit, but it's kind of hard to treat that person like any other person when that person has beaten you 4 in a row, 5 in a row, 6 in a row. It's kind of hard to just be normal about it. And that's what separates the great drivers is, like Jordan, right? You just keep shooting and eventually they're going to go in if you trust yourself. But that's what's hard. You got to learn that process.
Not letting it get in your head is a big deal. I think that good athletes, no matter what the sport is, have a short memory. You have to. The reason that I could never be a great golfer is because I just can't turn stuff off that fast. you watch guys that are out there that, they'll slice one off into the trees. And I go, I could hit that shot. Look at me. I could be a pro golfer. I can hit one in the trees. But then they walk over and go, okay, yeah, give me a 7-iron. We're going to kind of just over that, and we'll drop it out there, and then, chip up and putt, and we'll save the par. Well, I go out there, grab a club out there, I can't believe the balls in the stupid gun. And it takes me 4 strokes to find short grass again, because I can't just turn that off and go, okay, let's go here from here. And you've got to be able to do that. And in racing, it's exactly the same way. If somebody's beating you a lot of times, you can't go to the starting line going, oh, geez, well, might as well go ahead and take the awning down, because at that point, you're done. You've got to go up there with the mentality that I'm going to whip you. I don't care if you whip me 10 times. But, put all that away and just go out and run your race and see if it goes your way this time. And that's the guys and gals that are really good at racing are able to do that. That you just have to, have a bad run, turn it off, and come back and make a better one next time.
As simple as that. All right, Jerron is out there. Flying Airbrush wants to know. I actually brought this up earlier, and when you were off the air, but he wants to know the answer. Is your voice going to make it through late September, October, and November with 82 weeks in a row of Division 7 racing? Talking about all the rescheduled events, etc. Yeah. When everybody ramps up.
After last year, I got plenty of practice for that. So, yeah, I'll be fine. And, we get out on the West Coast. Hunkerford comes in sometimes and helps out at some of the races. Nate Hershey's out here. So, yeah, it won't be a problem.
Excellent.
And I will take 82 weeks in a row, because it's nice to have some of the dollars flowing back towards me instead of away from me. Like, I wrote a big check to the IRS yesterday. That wasn't very much fun.
Oh, well, exactly. No, after last year, this is like steady flow, man. Steady flow, like a schedule that's happening. Oh, man, I'm so thankful. I know nobody wants to hear about it, but I'm so thankful. Like, I'm going to be in Charlotte, and I'm going to be in Houston, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be in Epping, which is 100%. When Loans goes on the air and says 100% mark it down, his home race, I'm pretty confident it's going to happen. So that's pretty exciting. Hey, Craig Bourgeois says 4 wide for comp. What do you think? It's not happening, but
okay.
Do it.
Craig, you really want to do that to your index, buddy?
Right. Because you can't lift. You don't know what's going on. You got to run them out.
I wonder, and this is just like popped into my head because Craig brought it up. 4 wide for comp with no permanent CNC.
Right.
Okay. If you run 60 under, you're going to get hit next round. But if you run 75 under for the week, no permanent CNC, that might be interesting. I genuinely wonder how many of the comp racers would want to do that.
Well, okay, so I've been talking with Joe Aerosmith a little bit. He's got a really quick and fast car, and you know better than anybody. And I'm like, learning more and more. Comp is as hardcore category as there is, and as much as anybody can communicate in the few minutes that we have to talk about, it goes way, way deeper, and everybody knows the index and how much you've been beat up on it and all the cars around the country, et cetera, and so on. And from what I gather, everybody is very frustrated that they want to run as fast as they can run. And CIC it's not the right strategy to run as fast as you want to run. And there have been a couple of races this year where it's just like, no, you're not going to get hit on your index. Just go all out. Let's see what everybody's got, and let's let the chips fall and find out what is the real situation. And that's what I want to see. So I would be all for a race like that, where everybody just let it hang out. Of course, like you said, within the race, it affects the competition like it normally would, but nothing permanent. I think people would like it. And you know who's got the juice, I think, to make something like that happen, Alan?
Who's that?
Craig Bourgeois. This guy's a champ. His fellow competitors all respect him. If he went out there and said, guys, this is something that I think would be good, we should try it, I think half of them would say, Craig, you know what? Yeah, let's try it because you're saying it. Because, he's...
interestingly enough, I lobbied for 10 years to do comp class eliminations at Indy. You could make it part of qualifying, just like they do with stock and super stock, but match up all of the A nostalgia dragsters, all of the A altereds, all of the C dragster automatics, and run comp class elimination with no penalty. Just have at it.
Right.
And at one point, I think Graham was at least considering it a little bit. And over the course of a couple of years, took the comp qualifying sheet from Indy and went, okay, well, we'd have 3 cars in this class and we'd have 2 cars in this class. And it's not like super stock where you're going to have 14 G automatics show up, super G automatics show up.
Yeah.
And so that kind of kiboshed that ideal. But I always thought that comp class eliminations would be fun, where you just line them up for qualifying, run everybody heads up, no penalty, just have at it. And I thought that would be interesting. So I don't know, man. I don't know if they could make it 4 wide or not. It would certainly be interesting. The other thing that I don't know, and I mean legitimately don't know this, would have to ask Brockmeyer.
Right.
I don't know if there is a handicap system for the 4 lanes in the software, because everything we run 4 wide is run heads up. And if like a new program would have to be written for a 4 lane, and I just don't know that. Maybe it exists, or maybe they'd have to do something from scratch. But it would certainly be interesting to talk about.
Well, exactly. And we're going to be in the right place to talk about it here this weekend. Oh, look, Craig says, I'll try it. And there you go. But then he says, no. And so I don't really know which is pertaining to which.
Well, we'll talk to Craig when we get down to Houston, because he'll certainly be there. They're running comp in Houston, right?
Without the permanent, the man with the most money wins, says Craig Bourgeois.
But how are you going to judge the stripe 4 wide when you can't see the other 2 lanes over the wall? That's the problem.
Right. No, you gotta just air it out and hope you brought enough. And at this one race, it's not permanent. That's the thing. It's just one race. I like special event kind of stuff. We'll see. Jalen says, as a fan of comp, I would love to see just that. And I think that's what, just heads up competition where guys can really show what they're, you build a car that's capable of doing something amazing and you can't ever show it because that's bad strategy. I don't know. Maybe they could do it.
I tell you guys this, beware Craig Gaultier if you guys really want to do that.
Why is that? Because he's like 1.5 under his index.
Well, I was at a test session one time where, let's just say, everybody, including the Stanfields who built the engine, were going, "Holy crap, that thing's fast!"
No. When he shows up, he's a shooting for number 1.
Yeah, I don't think you could do it 4 wide without making some kind of an adjustment, because if you're 2 wide, you're red, I'm running the thing 1,000 feet and shutting it off. Well, if we're 4 wide, the car next to me might be red, but I still got to beat somebody over there. And if I can't see them, what if 2 guys are red and I go 75 under because I don't know 2 guys are red?
Right.
You can't see everything from being 4 wide. And that's why, with just heads up class, it doesn't matter, right? If we're racing pro stock motorcycle and 2 people are red, the other 2 aren't going to shut off. The other 2 aren't going to worry about breaking out or doing it. It doesn't matter. You're still going to run the thing to the stripe. And so that's why 4 wide works with heads up. And that's why it would be difficult, even though comp is a performance-based category, but you still have to protect that index. So if you went in there with the possibility of permanently damaging your personal index, then I think that would scare people away. I honestly do. I know I wouldn't go knowing that I could, basically handicap myself for the year on a race that it didn't need to be done, but you don't know that. And so that would be difficult, I think.
Yeah, but it's conversations like this, as meaningless as this might seem, but this is where ideas get started, right? And we figure out what people actually want to see. And I think my general, like the showdown cars 4 wide, was something that I really wanted to see. Did we ever get to see that, or we didn't get to see that, right? Because of the pandemic. We were going to have it last year and it didn't happen, if memory serves me right.
I believe it's happening this week, isn't it?
That would be great to see. Looking at my normal entry list, it does not show showdown, but I think they are running. And so let's hope that it happens.
Oh, I thought they were running this week.
Well, I had heard it, but now I'm looking at the competitors in the entry list and I do not see Factory Showdown listed. Maybe that's an oversight, perhaps, that this is part of the warming back up after, worldwide pandemic. We'll figure it out soon enough. Alan, any final thoughts, any things you want people to know out there before we get ready for Charlotte and the NGK NTK?
Just that I'm ready to go. And like I said, keep an eye on your social media, because there's going to be a few NASCAR personalities that are going to be dropping in on us from time to time. And, it's always fun when they get to come out and experience it, especially if it's their first time seeing it. And I also want to say, David Freiberger stopped by last night. They're in town with Motor Trend TV shooting some stuff. And so he came by and got a tour of Wild West Engineering. So on my, VIP tour list, pretty much everybody on the planet except you and Loans. We'll see who gets here first.
Wow. Guilt. I love it. And I have been to Tucson a couple of times. You know what? I think we could, you've had Amanda Busick. You've had Freiberger now. You had Lowe's Chincones and Rudy the UPS guy. Big stars. Like, I got to tell you, I would love to be out there as soon as is possible. Maybe when Arizona gets rescheduled next year.
Dan Fletcher's been here. David Nickens has been here. Todd Horner, Pro Stock and Mountain Motor guy, has been here. So yeah, I should have taken pictures and made like a celebrity wall.
Absolutely, you should do that. How could you have not figured that one out by now?
That's just not me.
Yeah, but it should be the Wall of Fame. They have a little spot.
Let's be honest. Who's ever going to be in here more famous than me?
Now that you put it that way.
And I'm here every day. So.
That makes perfect sense. Alan, great job. I will see you this weekend. Thank you so much. Excited to go racing again. That's, to me, I'm not complaining about anything anymore. That's my new attitude. It's like, it's going to take a lot to get me to look at something negatively because I'm just so happy that we're directionally correct. That's what I'm excited.
I'm with you. Travel safe. My guy's back, so I'll see you soon.
Later, Alan. There he goes. Alan Reinhart, the voice of the NHRA. And really appreciate everybody commenting out there. Blake, thank you very much, bud. See you out there. I tried to, Blake and his dad, and I was working. They tried to win the tickets to get out there, and I was working his dad to try to get him out there. But they're going to Norwalk, which is cool. And they're going to have the Norwalk experience. Way to go, Blake. Let's see. Kev, what says? The shop would look good with a WFO banner on it. Yes, I think that would be great. I think we need WFO banners. I just had these snazzy shirts made up for WFO listeners out there who want them. They'll be up on the website very, very soon. But that's a good idea as well. And the whole flag experience, we're working on that. A lot of swag coming out. Yeah, we're going to just keep that one. I've even been there, Joe, says Jim. Well, that just tells you. Jeff got a dial on us. He wants .90 racing. .90 racing 4 wide. I like it too. But here's the problem with .90 racing 4 wide. It does, these guys are chasing a championship. And I think that anybody that was serious about chasing the championship wouldn't want to try something totally different from what they're doing within the championship. You'd have to race differently. You couldn't top end drive. You'd have to set your car up to run, 90 and hold it wide open. It would be a fundamentally different experience to go .90 racing 4 wide because of all the things that we just said. Hammer the tree, run a 90. That would be it. And it would be interesting and people could do it. But you just would have to do something with the points implications because anybody that's running points, championship points, would probably not want to be experimenting with one of their national events. And racers that don't have to deal with that and just kind of run their normal program all year long would have a leg up on the competition, I think. Jeff says 20 plus entries in Pro Stock. Yeah, Pro Stock and Pro Stock Bike is going to be wild. 22 in Pro Stock Bike, 20 in Pro Stock, 18 Top Fuel, and 16 funny cars at the moment. That's what it needs to be. That's exciting. And I'm excited about, the prospects of just being out there. Again, I know some people are keeping their gripes, their pre-pandemic gripes, like right close to their vest, like to their heart. Like, no, man, things that I was angry about back then, I'm still angry about. Not me. I am, new attitude. Happy to be out there amongst drag racing fans, as many as is allowable. Happy to be working again, as many as is possible. And that's it. We are directionally correct, good and getting better, or getting better. And that's all I can ask for. All right, put your comments in the comment section, final comments. And reminder, 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, Bob Tasca. Now, Bob Tasca was on just a couple of weeks ago. And so you might be thinking, oh, Tasca again. What's he going to say? That? Well, submit a question for Bob Tasca or start thinking of a question for Bob Tasca. You can always email me, joe@wforadio.com. Questions, comments, thoughts about the show, things you don't want to say publicly, of course. You can email them to me, joe@wforadio.com. But it's going to be 10 a.m. We're going to catch Tasca in the morning. And, who knows? Maybe we'll throw a curveball at him, right? Like, when racers win their way on WFO week after week after week, the difficulty level goes up. The first one, it's like, hey, you won a race. That's great. And then the second one, it's like, hey, you won 2 races now. Why don't you answer questions from listeners? And then the third time, it's like, all right, WFO karaoke. We'll figure something out. Big shout out to Total Seal Piston Rings. Watch out for Matt Hartford. The thing about Matt is they're still down a couple of guys in terms of the team, brain power. I think KI from CIP1 is going to be out there this weekend, though, finally. So they're going to get some strength back. But watch out for Hartford. TotalSeal.com got a new episode dropping on Thursday. Go to the website, TotalSeal.com, and learn about why your piston rings are so important. And if you're getting an engine built or if you're building an engine, Total Seal, that's who you should be using. And Marvin Rodak, RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com, hot sauces and spice rubs, everything good. 817-924-6821. Look, here's the thing, is that coffee is next level, gourmet stuff. Hot sauces and the spice rubs and tools for grilling. If you want to buy a barbecue, they've got the best of the best of the best there. And Marvin is a drag racer and a drag racing fan, so keep him in mind the next time you need something. And that's the truth for all of our sponsors. We're consistently pushing out the message. There will come a time where you decide, you know what, I'm looking for my career. Maybe you're 16 years old and you've heard about Samtech for a couple of years and you decide to give them a call or go to the website, samtech.edu, when you realize, man, I love racing enough to make it my life, to make it my career. A job that's not going to be outsourced, a job that's going to be around, CNC programmers, EFI tuners, going to be going for a long, long time. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, same deal. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do for my sales guys? What am I going to do for my best clients? How can I show them that they're awesome and do something super special? Because the zip lining is no longer cool. Agreed. Go to the Dragster Adventure. Have Frank set up a race amongst you and your team. Reward your best clients. Great experience. Course start at $399, and I think that is a bargain. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more information. Really appreciate Frank. And, of course, Nitro Fish, where you get the T-shirts, the 10th anniversary T-shirts that is available in the Nitro Fish trailer. And they have been doing great things, talking about Bo and Randy Lynn for us. And just love being up there. And I swing by and I see the WFO shirts in the Nitro Fish trailer, and I think it's cool. But you can go to the website also. And then, of course, there's our own WFO store, which we're ever expanding, the WFO store. Face coverings. People, do you need them? Listen, they're talking about diminishing the requirement for face coverings indoors. That's how much ground we've covered, people. That's how much things have advanced. And so, do you still need a face covering? Yeah, in certain situations. I've got friends that are going to wear them just so they don't get the flu or catch a cold. But I wore mine to mow the lawn today because why not? Everybody's got those gaiters because they don't want to breathe in St. Augustine grass. You will find something to use your WFO face covering for. Just $10 plus you get stickers and a patch. Go to the WFO radio store. Or you could become a Patreon. That's right. You get special shows and special content, inside information, and Monday Motivation. You get to watch the Ignition Show, and you get to co-host the Ignition Show and chime in and all kinds of stuff. The Patreons, baby. It's a totally different listener experience, and you're supporting the show directly. Patreon.com/WFO radio. Hit the website. You can find out all kinds of great information. All right, let's where to sign up. Let's see what people have got to say. What is Tasca's favorite year of Mustang? That's a perfect question for tomorrow. We'll see you, Nico, at 10:07 a.m. right here. YouTube, WFO Radio TV, or here on Facebook. Hey, everybody, just want to let you know we have eclipsed the 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. Thank you. Victory. It's a celebration. We did it. I was telling you guys we got to do it, and we did it. Now we've done it, and that's it. Now we got to get to 2,000. So keep subscribing, everybody. Let's see. Bass Knuckler. Thanks, Joe. See you on the next episode. Thank you very much. Look at the Beetle. Yeah, you know what? It was Doug Colley who, thank you. It's so funny. My memory got jogged. I was going through the gram the other day, and I found a photograph of Rodak's coffee. And the person said that the Bang the Blower had made their eye twitch. And I was trying to remember who it was in a good way. That's a compliment. It made the eye twitch. And it made my eye twitch too when I drank 7 cups of it, which is too much. And it was Doug Colley, and Bass Knuckler, you just jogged my memory because of the Beetle. So good job. Jay says, great show as always. WFO, the best on the planet. Thank you so much. We try hard to be our best. Monica says, yay. And Blake says, congratulations. I like your show. It's fun and informative. Thank you very much, Blake. We work hard. Love the sport. Want to bring in new fans. Want to continue to make a living in the sport. Want to continue to grow our audience. And of course, our reach beyond just any person that happens to stumble upon the show. We want to try to continue to grow the vast audience and reach around the world like we do. To all of our Australian listeners and many of you Patreons down there, please reach out to me because soon we're going to be sending some WFO swag down to Oz. We got a couple people who have volunteered to be the hub down there and distribute stuff. Like for me to send independent packages to Australia is not feasible economically, but we have had a couple people offer to be a hub of distribution down there so I could send like one bigger package and get WFO stickers and various things down there. So if you're interested, and many of you have said in the past, oh, we'll pay. I just feel so weird about that, making you guys pay for me to send something down to Australia. But joe@wforadio.com, because if you have reached out in the past, maybe I will miss those old messages. So let's fresh messages, listener from Oz, want to get in on the drip, and you can do it. Because if you get Gary Selzy back on as a guest, I would love to get Gary Selzy back on as a guest. Listen, go to the archive and watch the Gary Selzy Beer with Selzy happy hour. I don't know if you ever saw that, but I think that was one of the best things we ever did. Wine night with Ron Tobler and Beer with Selzy. And Alan was on that one. Angel was on that one. Caps was on that one. It was great. The only thing is what might have been, right? Like, it wasn't perfect. Why? Because John Forrest was trying to call in like in the last 10 seconds of the show and didn't get in. And we missed out on Forrest and Selzy. But Forrest says he's down to do it again. We just got to get him back. WFO Worldwide, I agree. Kev says, I'll gladly be the hub in UK and Europe for WFO. Kev, if you're down for that, first of all, Kev, your stuff is probably at your United States address now. So it's on the camel's back. But that's what we need. We need to create some hubs around the world. And if you're a listener in a country where there's other listeners, by all means, if you want to be the hub, I send you the stuff. You send the stuff to the other people. And to me, that sounds like a good plan. In a few minutes from the beginning, I've got jury duty this week. Well, do your duty, Derek. I think about the day that I'm going to be judged, and I want smart, sharp, well thought out, conscientious people in there. And I know everybody tries to get out of jury duty. I can't get jury duty. It was years ago. I've been called for jury duty 3 times in my life. And every time I go in there and I never get called there, I'm always one of the first ones dismissed. I wonder why. People are trying to dodge out of there. Yeah, well, I can't because, I'm a racist. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do your duty with jury duty. And I'm always like, yeah, I can't wait to be on the jury. And we don't want you, man. You're not easily manipulated. The whole push-pull between the lawyers. Oh, man. Let's see. He says he'll gladly be the hub. That is great. But without trying something new in the sport would not evolve. I just hope one day all classes will go 4 wide at national events. Can't wait to see what is on the camel's back. Glad Monica got the yearly subscription. Great show. Let's all go WFO. I agree. And that's it. That's the comments. Appreciate all of you. But yes, Derek, do your duty. Jury duty. It's the right thing to do. But it does tend to happen like right as you've got a trip out of town, like you're going to somewhere, you're going to Vegas or something. It's like, yeah, jury duty that day. Oops. All right, everybody. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. The Ignition Show is in the archive. We had a lot of fun on the Ignition Show. Sue Morris co-hosting, Bobby Graham co-hosting their Patreons. Other Patreons chiming in. Talked a little bit about Lewis Hamilton and his dominance of Formula One. Talked a little bit about Martin Truex Jr. and his tremendous victory out there in Darlington. Talked a little bit about Greg Anderson and pro stock. And we kind of run the gamut of various subjects, including what, we would call stick and ball sports. If you're looking for a good listen, a show that is week to week, Ignition. And you get that by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Subscribe to the show, that kind of stuff. Thank you. Really appreciate you. Appreciate all of our listeners out there. And I'm headed to Charlotte. So if you're going to be up there, if you're going to be around, shout out WFO. Really appreciate your positive attitude. There's no other way to be right now, Nico. Got to be positive. Got to be positive. And even when things are going south, turning a little negative. You got to summon that positivity, and that's how you'll get through it. That's how you'll advance. At least that's the way I do it. Remember, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., tomorrow morning, Bob Tasca. Going to talk about pulling out the bulldozers. Also excited about this car right here, Greg Anderson, the HendrickCars.com machine. Ricky Hendrick and the Truck Series at the time. Ran those colors and just a great-looking car. And GA going to try to go out there and get a win. Really cool. Big thanks to Alan Reinhart, of course, for being on the show. And all you WFO radio listeners, Antron Brown, Greg Anderson, Scotty Polachek, all in the archive. Lots of great stuff. We got some unique stuff on the YouTube channel as well. Check them out. We'll see you next time right here on WFO Radio.